And time now for another thrilling edition of Adventures in Radioland. Hasty Decisions number 5, subtitled The Station Fire. Well, as you know, this Hasty Decisions series is all about the downside to hasty decisions. So Hasty Decisions 5, The Station Fire, actually begins in 1968 at WFBS Radio in Spring Lake, North Carolina. One of the additional carrots my competitor, General Manager Jerry Oakley, had dangled in front of me at our coming on over to his side recruitment luncheon was the opportunity later of becoming Group Production Director for the Radio Smiles broadcast chain of 6 stations. Well, his recruitment luncheon was successful, and after some time working for his station, WFBS, I did in fact become Radio Smiles Group Production Director. But I still did special productions for WFBS, Jerry's station in Spring Lake, which was located about 15 miles away from where I lived in my home in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I had my own recording radio production facility, which included a VHF remote-to-station link system, so I could transmit my audio productions directly to the station without having to drive all the way there. And another item I had on my home studio was a remote broadcast radio monitor system. It received only the WFBS radio on-air signal, and many times I would have it on just to hear what the guys were up to on the air. So, well, a long story short, one Saturday morning in February of '69, I was in my home studio doing some writing and listening to the station, and when I became aware that the station had gone quiet, there was no music, no announcer, well, I thought maybe the station had gone off the air. So I went over and looked at the meters on the remote monitor, and the meters indicated that the station was still on the air. There was just no audio. Well, this was very unusual. I grabbed my two-way radio hand mic and called for the station control room. No answer. This was also extremely unusual. Something definitely was wrong. So I jumped in my car and headed for the station. When I was still a mile or so away, I could see a column of black smoke rising up from the direction of the station. When I got closer, I realized the station building was ablaze, with fire trucks all around. The main fire seemed to be right where the control room was. I went to the back of the building where 3 or 4 employees were standing, and I asked if they had managed to get any of the equipment out. They said they had not. I knew that after the fire, without any equipment, it would be very difficult to function. I hastily devised a plan, and there's that word again, hasty. I knew there were 2 production rooms to the back of the building, and that the back door opened into a hallway that separated the 2 production rooms. I thought I could get some equipment out if I went in through the back door, go down the hall a short way, feeling for the studio door on the left, and opening the door and go forward and slightly to the left, and there should be a portable Ampex 605 tape deck on the console. Well, I got to the door. I felt for heat. It was cool, so I opened it. The hallway was dark and full of smoke. I took a deep breath and headed down the hallway, feeling for the left studio doorway. I found the door was cool. I opened the door and took my bearings. I moved into the room. Within a second or two, I had found the tape deck, unplugged the connection cables, and started for the door, being very deliberate to retrace my footsteps exactly. I had taken only a couple of steps when all of a sudden something spun me around. Unfortunately for me, the engineer had recently added an additional ground strap to the machine. When it had run out of slack, it spun me around, and now I was deep in trouble. I was no longer did I have an exit point of reference. Well, I was still going to try and save the gear. I madly worked the ground strap back and forth where it was attached to the machine. Finally, it broke free, and I was headed for the door. But where? I felt along the wall until I found the door, and with no air left, I hit the hall and was out the back door, holding ever so tightly to that Ampex tape deck. Ah, light and sweet air. Thank you, Lord. This has been another thrilling edition of Adventures in Radioland. This segment, Hasty Decisions 5, subtitled The Station Fire. I look at now at hasty decisions can be very dangerous side effects, especially as it relates to working on or operating electronic equipment. So there you go. Hasty Decisions 5, the station fire. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.